Welcome to our new lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to study about inheritance in Python. So basically, it is also a very important concept of OOPS, which is inheritance, and we will see that what is inheritance and why it is used in our programming. So basically, what does inheritance stand for? So in our real world example, we can see that we sometimes come across this word inheritance. Inherit, like the properties which we inherit from someone, like the properties we inherit from ancestors. This is known as inheritance. So in programming, there is concept of inheritance. Like uh, if we take a real world example, if I take myself as an example, so I must take some inheritance from my parents, like was my nature or my color or my speaking. So these are some properties which I inherit from my ancestors, from my parents or my grandparents. So these were inherited from them. Same this concept is implemented in the Python, like in OOPS. It is like this inheritance concept in all the programming languages, but here we are discussing about Python. So inheritance basically stands like if we create a class, and in that class we create multiple variables, functions, and methods. So now we have defined those methods and variables inside a class. But if we want to use those same methods again in our new class, we don't have to create those functions in our new class. So we are just inheriting them from our first class. So here we are not creating those functions again in our code in second class. We are just inheriting it from the first class, like the class which we created earlier. So this basically reduces the length of our code, reduces the complexity of our code. Like if we create if we want to change something in our function or in our code, so we just have to change those properties in our parent class, and all those changes will be reflected in all our remaining classes. So let us see that how can we do it in our code, and we will try to explain it more better, that how does it work in code. So let us start it, like writing the code here. So I am writing code. First I am going to create a class using class keyword, and I am defining the name of my class. So I am going to define name of a class as learn. You can use any name, it is not necessary that you have to just use this name. You can use whatever you want. And now we want to define a function, so we can define a function using def keyword, and now we have to give the name of function. So I am linking this function name with my learn dash, like learn dash test. So now I am creating this function, and I am using self keyword. It will link our this function with the learn class, that it will associate this with our class. Now let me just return something, like if I want to return some output, so I'm going to return that this is my parent class. So I am taking this as our parent class, like we had not initialized earlier any other class than this. So this is my parent class. Now let me just execute it, and it executed successfully. Now I am going to create another class. So I am going to take this as child dash learn. We can use any name, and this is just for understanding. So I am creating another class, and inside this class I want to inherit the properties of this class, like this. So how can I inherit? I have to inherit its properties by passing the name of the class. So I have to pass here the name of the class which we had earlier created. So I am passing the name of our class as here in this parameter. And now what I want, I am just passing it here, that I am not defining any its body. I want it just to pass whatever it gets from learn function. So now I executed it. Now I am going to create object of our class. So child dash inherit dash object. So we can get better understanding about that this is our object of this class. Child inherit class object is this. I am going to create object for child inherit, child dash learn class. Now we have created object of our class with the name child dash inherit. And now if I call this function like this object, like I am going to call object here dot, and then the name of the function. So you can see that it automatically given us the function which is defined here, like in our parent class. So if I call this function and if I run it, so you can see that it automatically printed our parent class. So we had just created the object of our child class, but it inherited the properties from the parent class. Like here we have defined this function of a parent class, we inherited it using the name of a class, passing as a parameter, and then we created the object of our child class, and then we called our parent class function using the child class object, and it printed the statement for us. So this is a very basic example of how we can use inheritance in our code. Let us more deeply understand that how can we implement inheritance in different methods and different classes. So in our inheritance, we have different types of inheritance like multi-level inheritance, multi-level inheritance. So let me just explain you that how can we create multi-level inheritance. So let me take, this is our first class. Sorry, let me just clean it. I am taking this as a first class, then I am taking second class here, and then let me just take this and so now I have created three classes. So let me just give name to our classes, like this is our class 1, this is our class 2, and this is our class 3. So now we can see that we have now three classes, like this is first class, this is second class, this is third class. So now what is happening here, that this this class is giving its properties to this class. This class is inheriting the properties of class 1, and this class 3 is inheriting the properties of class 2. Now when it inherits the properties of class 2, it automatically inherits the properties of class 1 as well, because it inherits class 2 and class 2 inherits class 1. So all the properties of class 1 are already available in class 2, and when it inherits the class 2, it automatically inherits the class 1 properties as well. So this is known as multi-level inheritance. So this is our first class, this is our second class, and this is our third class. So here we are labeling that this is our first class inherits, like second class inherits properties of first class, because this is our parent class. It contains all the properties and functions which we want to inherit. In class 2 we are inheriting the properties from the first class, and in class 3 we are inheriting the properties from class 2 as well as, because class 2 inherits the properties of class 1, it automatically inherits the properties of class 1 as well. So let us create some functions there. I'm just clearing it, and we will write some code that how can we implement multi-level inheritance. So this is basically known as multi-level inheritance. So this is multi-level inheritance. So this is our multi-level inheritance. So let me just clear it, and we are going to write some code to see it in a demonstration that how can we implement it in our code. So now I am writing the code here. So let me just create our class here. So I am creating class using class keyword, and now I want to give the name of class. So I am giving the name of class as class 1. For better understanding that, we can see that how can we inherit using inheritance using multi-level. So I am creating a function here using define keyword def, and I am going to use here like this learn dash class. So this is our class 1, like I'm just I'm going to create self to link it over with class, and I am returning here some statement, like I'm just simply printing some statement here that this is class 1. So this is our class 1. Now let me just execute it, and let me create another class 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 2. Sorry, let me just class 2, and I am creating a function using def keyword. I am creating another function learn dash class 2. This is just the name of function, you can use any name, it's up to you. Self is used to link our function with the class, and what we want to return something that this is class 2. So basically we are defining here just printing that this is class 2, because this function is inside the class 2. Now let me just execute it, and let me create another class here like class 3. Now For this class 3 I want here, let me just inherit the class 1 here. So let me just use class 1. So basically here we are inheriting our class 1. Let me just execute it again to reflect the changes. And now in class 3 I want to inherit class 2. So let me just call class 2 here. So now this class 3 will inherit all the properties of class 2, and class 2 is inheriting class 1 as well, so it will inherit the properties of class 1 as well in the class 3. So here I am not printing anything, I'm just using pass keyword to see our code working here. So let me just create the object of our class. So I am using class 3. You can use any name. This is just for better understanding. Class dash object is equal to uh, of which class we want to create. We want to create the object of class 3. So let me just create object of class 3. Now if I call the object class 3 here, so let me just class 3 dot dash object. Now if I use the dot operator, it will displays functions from both the classes. Like from class 1 we have learned class 1, and from class 2 we have learned class 2 function. So let me just use the dot operator, and now after the dot operator you can see that we are getting function from both the classes. Like from first class, from class 1 we are getting learn class function from class 1, and from class 2 we are also getting the learn class function 1. Let me just call the first class function here. So let me just execute it here. You can see that it inherits the statement of class 1 function. Like this function is returned for this class, and if I again call this object class 3 dot learn dash class 2, now if we execute it, it returns that this is class 2. So basically here we have seen that this is multi-level inheritance. We are inheriting the properties of different classes and just using it. Like for first class we create a function, for second class we inherited property of first class, and in class 3 we inherit second class, and along with those properties we got inherited the properties of class 1 as well. So this is a very simple code to display that how multi-level inheritance works, and let us more understand about that how it works deeply. Like we will see another example here. So earlier we had seen that how does multi-level inheritance work. So there is another type of inheritance which we had discussed, that this is multi multi-level inheritance, like multiple inheritance. So what is multiple inheritance? So let me just create here, like this is our class 1, and this is our class 2, and this is our class 3. So let me just give the name here. So this is class 1, this is our class 2, and this is our class 3. So now basically what's happening here, that this is our first class, this is our second class. Now this class class second is not inheriting class 1, and class 1 is not inheriting class 2, but what we want that this class 3 inherits the properties of both class 1 and class 2. This is known as multiple inheritance. So how can we achieve it using multiple inheritance? Like uh, from class 1 we want to get the other properties of class 1 in class 3, and class 2 properties in class 3 as well. So let us see this implementation of code, that how can we achieve this multiple inheritance. Let me just clear our screen, and let me just start writing code here. So let me just take the classes which we had created earlier, that let me just copy it from here, and let me just paste it. This is our first class, so let me just execute it, and let me take our other class as well. So I'm just copying it from here and just pasting it, and here we have to remove this because this is multi-level inheritance. So we want to just create our function because we want to implement multiple inheritance. So let me create another class here, like earlier we had created a class. So let me just again take that class as well. So this is our class 3. So now here we want to see that how can we achieve properties of both class 1 and class 2. So basically we have not to do something different. We have to just call those classes separately in this same class. Let me just take class 1 comma class 2. So now here we are inheriting class 1 and class 2 for class 3. Class 2 is not inheriting any property from the class 1, but here for class 3 we are going to inherit properties from both the class 1 and class 2. So let me just execute it. And now if I create object over class, so let me just create object, let me just create object dash class 3 is equal to class 3. So let me just create object over class. Now if I call object over class 3 like object class 3, and if I use dot operator, you can see that we are again getting the properties from both the classes. Now in we can see that here we are not inheriting properties of class 1 and class 2. Like for class 2 we are not inheriting any property from class 1, but for class 3 we are using multiple inheritance. So for multiple inheritance we are inheriting functions from multiple classes. So that is why it is known as multiple inheritance. So after the dot operator we can call any function. Let me just call function from class 2. So now if we run it, we can see that we are getting our result from class 2. And if we again just run it, object dash class 3 dot learn class 1. So now if we execute it, we are getting the result from this is that class 1. So here we are seeing two types of inheritance. First is multi-label inheritance and second is multiple inheritance. So these are very basic examples of inheritance which we use in our programming. So please, that's it for today. Please try to practice different permutations combinations to get better understanding about how inheritance works. Try different combinations. So that's it for today. Please practice it and see you in next lecture. Bye.